Hello, everybody. My name's Astrid Nebula from Disconnect Esports, and today we are going to be going over Gates. Let's talk Disconnect Esports uh, video where he basically goes over the history of DC, why he created it, some of the recent events that have happened, and so on and so forth. There are some talking points that I want to go over and go more in depth about regarding this video and regarding Disconnect's PC team and the recent amendments that I have made to the team. And for those of you that don't know, Gate is the owner of Disconnect. So we're just going to begin this video by listening over some of the audio portions and interjecting where needed.
eSports, whether it's as a series as a whole, whatever. I just want to talk about it and what's happened, at least without like the recent weeks, the recent months, about what's happened. So we'll start from the beginning for the people who don't know, or people who like haven't kept up the base on the streams, at least, since not many people tune in all the time. So I started a team called Disconnect Esports, obviously, and we started getting things going, Rainbow, whatever. And I decided to just make a Modern Warfare team with the newest game that came out recently for COD. And, we get the 7 people in, thank God, And then one of our Modern Warfare players, not going to use any names, but we're going to call him Bob. Bob, he's on our team, and his father, Bob's father, wants to change the esports scene, or instead of players paying to play, so instead of you pay like $50 to play and then you're entered in, you get paid to play. So win or loss, you get paid no matter what, and you get paid to play. Now, obviously, in tournaments, you have to get sponsorships on the game, get the game's permission to do all these big tournaments and stuff. So what he did was Bob's father hosted an exhibition where anybody can come play, anybody can come watch, and it's just using the game's features without needing anything. And you're not supposed to pay the players, but his idea was to pay the players on the low. Now, my team did get paid on the low. We weren't supposed to say anything, but it's whatever. Our team overall made $300 that was meant to be split upon each other. And obviously, from using PayPal, it took like 2% off of it or whatever. But you take 10% of the money that was there, and I was supposed to get $30 from the 300. There is no whatever numbers, because what you got was 300. Does not matter if PayPal takes them. I still get the $30 overall. That goes to the team, so I can invest in merch. So I can invest in a new logo, whatever the case is, to fix up the team a good bit. That's what it was invested for. Now, as soon as the players got paid, I never got the 10%. I also never got, whatever I was supposed to get. And the players, as soon as they got their money, they ended up leaving. The IGL for Modern Warfare, the 6 of their players left, and I wasn't told about this until they just left. I noticed that everybody was leaving, and I asked Bob himself. I was like, Bob, what happened? Are you guys staying? Are you guys leaving? What's going on? And I was aware that some players didn't want to use Discord. I was aware of that already. But I was not aware of everybody just up and leaving because of some small issue that was never fixed.
Okay, so going more into depth, what he's talking about here is that with the Modern Warfare, with the Call of Duty team overall, they were looking to get into the competitive scene, and they had a full roster. They were doing well. The IGL hype beast, Sam, messaged me back and forth throughout his time on Disconnect, and we got to talking about a lot of issues that we both had with Disconnect. And basically, what I told him in private messages was that if he was looking to leave Disconnect because he could find a better opportunity to expand his team and to grow it out more than what he could with Disconnect, then it was a good idea for him to leave Disconnect. Now, the direction that Gate I was trying to take it was that he wants the overall Disconnect Esports to be a multi-game clan like most organizations are. He wants to take it to the organization level. But the problem with Gate is that he doesn't have any organization skills whatsoever. Um, so yeah, he could recruit players to play for the clan itself, but he doesn't set expectations. He doesn't set bars for his players or for his IGLs or for his team leads or for his administration. It's more or less, hey, congrats, you're in the clan now. If you're an IGL, you have full reigns over the PC team. I don't expect much out of you. Go do what you have to do. Spread the word of disconnect. It's literally all we have to do. And alongside that and the amount of fucking toxicity that we had during that time in the clan, whether it was on Discord or whether it was on the PlayStation players live streams. I'm not talking about the Modern Warfare guys, because the Modern Warfare guys are pretty cool. It was more leaning toward his streams and his team streams. It was just dumb, and there were times where I was like, what the fuck are you doing, As an owner, you're expected to act in a professional manner. You're expected to lead your organization, to promote your brand and your guys the best you fucking can. And it's still a little problematic because there's still no expectations of us. He's cut down quite a bit on the toxicity. There's later portions of this video where he talks about that, but the move from the Call of Duty team to go the direction of Bob's father was probably one of the smarter moves and one of the better moves that they could have made for themselves. The leader of that Call of Duty team, Hypebeast, ended up creating his own org or own clan that the Modern Warfare team followed him into. And it's actually pretty wholesome for the reason why he created the clan and what he's modeling it after. He created it for people that don't have much of an outlet in real life, for those that have disabilities, for those that need a place to call their home, which is really fucking wholesome. He wants competitive gamers, but he also knows that there's gamers out there that could supply content for him that he wants to have them brought to light because they are people that are willing to put their best foot forward in the best light possible.
Whatever. So they leave with all the money themselves, don't say any words about it, nothing, whatever. But then right after that, we talk about it, we get things adjusted, fix everything, whatever. 7 players are gone. We still have at least Rainbow, Team 1, and then Rainbow, Team 1 for PC. So we have 2 teams so far. While me, myself, because all the players was, talking about like, hey, I'm not feeling this any longer. We don't really do anything. There's no one on really. And, I get that. Some of our players are minor. Some of our players are young. Not everyone can play on time. Not everybody can play overall.
Okay, and that right there is a problem. Which later in the video, we'll go over why I decided to cut the team on my under 18 guys. And it's not because they couldn't be on. That was part of the reason, but it also because they were underage. But it's a problem when you can't have your player base on, or when your player base doesn't want to play competitively, whether it be a Go 4, a VBC, a Bomb Cup, or any other type of 10-man scrim or whatever. You're there to play for a clan. You're there to play as a team, to develop as a team. You may not get the ESL outreach if you do Go 4s, but it's still practice enough for you to get on more competitively, All those Go 4s, Vanilla Bomb Cups, they're all good competitive practice for your team. And it's a problem when your team doesn't want to do that. And it's a problem when you have players that don't want to do it anymore or aren't feeling it because those are the players that aren't going to be on enough. Those are the players that aren't going to do well for your team or for themselves.
So things get hard, where people's time management isn't as efficient because they got school, they had whatever they were doing at the time. So it's like whatever. So I explained to them, you guys can host it yourselves. You guys can enter an ESL. You guys can get scrims going. I don't have to be there to play. There are 7 players on my roster here. Just sub me in. I don't have to play, to be like, okay, you guys can play whatever. You guys can do this yourselves. You don't need me. Well, apparently they didn't catch on to that. So some of them were talking about leaving. Some of them were talking about, let's go make our own team. So I was thinking about, what? Let's just, I can.
Okay, so your team was looking for leadership. Essentially, it's all that boiled down to. When you set yourself as an IGL, your team is looking to play with you as an IGL. And that's what PC Team 1 was looking to do. They were looking for some form of leadership right there. And the biggest problem is that you were willing to throw them to the fucking wolves. That's particularly why I have assigned co-IGLs, and my players know this. And that's particularly why I try to recruit 7 people to a team, 2 substitutions, just in case someone's absent or just in case I can't be there. Now, the IGL system works right now for me because I can say, okay, this is what we need to do. Let's take a look at shit. Let's go over it. It's because I, as an IGL, have that organization and that push through to try to at least get my team to get somewhere. Continuing on.
Find better players. I'm not saying that our players that we had before were bad. I'm just saying I can find better players. So I decided to say, hey, I'm just going to do a roster sweep. So everybody that was on my roster, I decided to sweep off. None of them are on the team. That means Chivo, he's no longer on the team. That means Lance, Chasm, Expert, every single one of them. They're no longer on my roster. Raf, Gaff, all of them. They're all gone. Just
some of those guys that he named off were pretty fucking toxic as well. So they should have been long gone already.
Because I wanted to do that sweep. I wanted players that were more mature, players that were more serious about it, players that had better timing, time management, where I can, where we can be on all the time, where we can constantly go, where I can trust them, where, they'll listen, they're serious about it, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm looking for. But not only did I do that, not only did I remove 6 players out of the 7, my PC team decided to do the same thing. Except his idea was to revamp the team because he wants to do it as 18 plus for his side, because obviously on PC it's a little more competitive, it's taken more seriously, and players, need to be of age to compete in Challenger League, to compete in Pro League, to compete in all these things, and that's even if you make it. And it's a hard thing to do, honestly. But I don't blame him. But the only issue was that everyone left now. Because people aren't feeling it, people aren't
that's the thing. People didn't leave my team. He's right on all accords, but people didn't leave my team. I sweeped all my underage players because maturity factor, they're in school constantly, and yes, the ESL guidelines say you have to be 18 plus. If I'm trying to get somewhere within Challenger League, I need to have that security of they're not going to look back at them funny saying they're not 18. So I wanted to comply with ESL on that standpoint, to be certain. I have nothing against my former team members. They're all great talent. They're all great people. They're all far gun skill better than I will ever probably be at this game. And that is 100% certainty. I try to push myself every game that I can. But there's, again, people that are naturally gifted at first-person shooters over people who are slower. And that's just the way it is. But yeah, that's the main reason why I swapped my team. And right now I'm in the middle of recruiting right now. So all that's left right now is myself and good luck. Uh, Sam Notson decided to leave the team because he wanted to go somewhere else because he wasn't getting enough competitive play with Disconnect. And it's because of my team sweep. So that one was completely on me, but um, I don't blame Sam for leaving the team, in all honesty. If you want to go to a place where it's going to make you happier and also feed your competitive drive and put you into a situation where you're going to win, by all means, dude, that's your future right there. Don't stick with a place that you know you're going to constantly lose or constantly um, go through reform or not be able to have the competitive itch um, scratched as you would with another team or organization. So I have nothing against him for making that move. Sam was my co-IGL, and again he was another really skilled gunner. So best of luck to you out there, Sam.
Same anymore. Things change and that's okay. But it's just like if people want to play, they need to be serious about it. They need to have faith and they need to pursue it and pray that it does work out in the end. Because every team starts off the same way. FaZe, they didn't just start off famous. They had to start from nothing and become something. And it's a powerful point to bring.
It depends on what you mean by phase. Phase is fucking huge. If you're talking about the organization overall, then yeah, they had to start from nothing and grow into something. But if you're talking about Phase's Rainbow Six team, then they definitely grew from the Call of Duty team.
Up there is because that is literally how things go. People don't just magically appear out of thin air and all of a sudden everybody's famous.
Hi, Bolo.
That's not how any of it works. People grind to a point in place to get where they want, and it either works or doesn't work, and it's as simple as that. Now, our current position is not the best. It's not what I like it to be. I would really hope it would have been something better by now, but with all falls, there's a rise. So, even though we have only 2 IGLs, there's me for PS4 on our Team 1, and then there is the second IGL for PC, which is Nebula. Now,
I'm still referred to as Nebula just because that was my original name playing under DC. I've since switched it over to Astrid Nebula. My best guess is he doesn't want to call me Astrid Nebula because he's more familiar with the Nebula name. Fair enough. I changed it over from Nebula to Astrid Nebula because there is already a Nebula in Challenger League, and I didn't want to create a conflict of interest. I also wanted to brand myself with something that I was closely aligned with, and that is my RPG character.
I'm not I'm not hating, I'm not saying anything, I'm just bringing up what we have currently. I would so prefer if there was more players on our roster, as that's honestly what we need. We're missing many potential players that are here, and some of us are looking, some of us aren't. And when I say some of us, it's just me and Nebula that are looking. We either are looking or we're not looking. That's whatever. Besides,
So, let's go deep dive into this. When I began as the IGL for Team 1, we had another guy with us, Astrodux, who was supposed to start off as Team 2's IGL, but Team 1 didn't have a full team at the time. So I got with Astrodux and was like, hey, let's stick to one team for now, and then as we grow, we'll split. And so we did that. Astro was in charge of recruiting, and I was in charge of a lot of what happened in game. Um, and that really remained true for a while. I never really did much of the recruiting because I had a lot of faith in my players to make the best judgments for the team. And yes, I played with those players while recruiting them, and I did see a lot of promise in them. However, to my downfall, I should have been the one to do some of the recruiting. Um, and that's kind of where I need to pick up slack now, and I'm trying my best with that. So we'll see what the future holds with that.
it's the point. Now, I've explained what we're looking for. I've explained our position of where we're currently at. And I've also brought up what happened. So now you're a little caught up on the positioning and how we got here. Because it just doesn't happen. Like, there's a reason for everything that happens, and this just happened to be the reason. Now, we do need players. But right now, I think it's best that we focus on 2 games right now. Modern Warfare and Rainbow Six as Rainbow Six.
Honestly, no. You don't need to fixate on two games. Um, you need to fixate on one game and start properly running the clan. As you said, you don't pop up out of thin air, and everybody has to start somewhere. If we're gonna start somewhere, it's going to be dedicated Rainbow. And the reason why dedicated Rainbow is because you and I are both heavily invested into the game right now. And that's where the majority of our audience is going to come from. So it'd be best if we grew our player base and our communities out of Rainbow Six.
Six is our primary game, and Modern Warfare is a newer game. There's still a huge. There's going to be a huge esports scene for it.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could even look at Valorant, the newest Riot Games game. Jesus, saying that twice over is a tongue twister. A lot of motherfuckers are going to be going after that because it's going to be the new top of the line competitive sports game. It's like a mix between Overwatch and Counter-Strike, right? Why would you jumping ship or recruiting players who are jumping ship or even trying to go competitive in the newest esports flavor of the day is horrible because nobody is guaranteed for anything on that, because you're going to have a lot of Counter-Strike pros go that way. You're going to have a lot of Overwatch pros go that way. You're going to have just a ton of people sweating their fucking nuts off going for Valorant. You're going to have a lot of people sweating their nuts off going for CSL or CWL, my bad. And it's just recruiting for those types of games, while yes is going to get your view count up, is going to get your community up, you're not going to have the players make it very far just due to the fact of how much is going that way. So it'd be better to stick to one game and stick to your gun that way with a game that is expanding in its esports ways, but also a game that you're already involved with, than going off into some other game. Now, when those games are fully fleshed out, and when you have your teams together, and when you have your shit together with your clan, then yeah, you can go into Valorant, you can go into Overwatch, you can go into Fortnite, you can go into fucking CWL. Possibilities endless at that point.
I would prefer to focus on these 2 primary games, and I would love to have players for it, but it's different for everything. For COD, you have I think it's the CWL, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 5v5 tournament thing where it's 3 game modes. If I'm not mistaken, it's Hardpoint, Headquarters, and S&D. I can completely be wrong about that.
So the thing is, for minors and major tournaments in any esports league, is that you have to buy in, or that buy-in pool is community fundraised, thus the community events, by Rainbow Six Siege for invitationals or any kind of major event that comes out. They're going to release in-game events to gander money for a prize pool. Otherwise, that prize pool would have been pooled in by the organizations themselves, which they are. But Call of Duty is fucking expensive to buy into. We could look at one instance here with Nadeshot's 100 Thieves clan. They wanted to get back into Call of Duty and do CWL and do Call of Duty league play again, but that buy-in for those top pro league is outrageously expensive that they couldn't get back into it. And I'm not saying that we're going to have the means to do that right away. It's just that there is always a cost factor behind everything, and not having the sponsorship or the outreach to do it is you're going to need to take out a fucking loan. And paying that back is you're basically banking on winning the whole fucking thing.
Do not remember the game modes. I know Search and Destroy that's on there, and that's it. That's all I'm sure of. That's it. But regardless, that is a 5v5 mode, and I would like to have 2 sub players. So that'd be, the one IGL, and then obviously the 6 other players, and whatever role they're going to be playing, or whatever they're doing for COD. I'd like to have 2 teams for it, but I'd rather focus on one until they're built up to perfection, or at least built up to as close as what they think is perfection.
I agree with that. But it's always good to have the owner's approval on that, and it's also good to have a coach's approval and an analysis approval. I know you're gonna have 7 players, so why not make one of the both the subs analyses, and then the IGL could be a player coach in that respect, and he could say, okay, this is how I feel about the current team. You have a one-on-one meeting with him, and then if both you and him agree, hey, we should move forward with this in direction A, direction B, or direction C, then you move forward with it. But if not, and you guys are not on equal pages, then you discuss some changes that need to be made.
So they can be at their best, top performing, so we don't have to focus on 2 teams that both need standards and setups. So while that has gone to shit, we also have Rainbow. Rainbow also is a 5v5, so I would love to have, the 5 main roster players, and then the 2 sub roster players. Simple as that. Nothing hard, nothing easy.
I don't like two teams. I don't like 2 teams in an organization or a clan because it just splits up our player base. I'd rather stick to 1 team with dedicated players and a sub roster where you transition your main team, where you substitute your main team and sub team out intermittently, than have to focus on 2 teams. Like a 2-team system splits communication. It creates more. Completes more. I don't want to say diversity, but division than you already need. So sticking to 1 team is always your best route, because players have to get to know each other. Players have to communicate well with each other. And having 2 teams means you're having 2 different callouts and 2 different methods of playing the game. While having 2 different methods of playing the game isn't necessarily a bad thing when you're on the same org or the same roster. Someone's call out could be way different from what you would have learned on the second team.
Just main roster and 2 sub players. That is it. Rainbow, obviously you have your 1 IGL, and then you have multiple other roles, and the IGL is not meant to be the best player, but he also can be, if that just happens to be the case.
Hey, don't call me out like that, you shithead. So, obviously, I'm not the best player on my team as the IGL. In fact, I put myself on a dedicated support role because that's where I'm best suited. As a support role, you're there to help your team out. You're there to plant. You're there to basically help your team win the game. You're not going fucking frag heavy. You're not being a fragmite. You're not, doing some crazy entry frag or X frag bullshit. You're just there to plant, there to deny plant, there to gather intel for your team, there to give your call outs. You're there to do mainly the biggest important jobs, and those big important jobs come at the cost of maybe your KD being complete. Your KD might be under 1, but at the same time, just because your KD is under 1 doesn't make you a bad player.
That's really all it is to it. I honestly, I expected us to be further ahead of the career. We were getting ahead of ourselves with the shit that we said, and I understand that. So that's why with the revamp, what I wanted to do was change everything, fix it, make it clean. I don't want toxicity. I don't want to deal with it, as it's yes, everyone can get upset and mad at a point, but people need to have it controlled. All the
That's one thing he has to work on is the control toxicity. I get that everybody can get livid sometimes with the game, and there's points of frustration that do tend to happen, but at the same point, you can't be calling people niggas, you can't be calling people shitters, you can't be calling people out just because you're the one that got outplayed. And these are, direct quotes from him from Rainbow Six, from both Rainbow Six teams. Um, and yes, I am completely guilty of this. There's been many streams and many occasions of me getting completely toxic and me getting completely fucking frustrated. Um, because I got outplayed or because I didn't put myself in the right position or because, I ran into some closet cheaters or just overall wasn't having it in the moment. And that does need to be controlled. Otherwise, you're not going to do well because toxicity will absolutely drain the morality and mentality of any team.
pro players you see when they stream and when they play Pro League, two different mindsets, two different gameplay styles. In Pro League, it's meant to be taken more seriously because you're there to win, you're there to compete, you're there to show who you are and play at your best. And streaming, you're playing ranked, you're playing casual, whatever, custom games, whatever. You're in that point of time, you're playing for fun. You're not taking it as seriously as you would, but regardless, you're playing it to play. You're not playing it to be like, oh, I'm here to be the best person. You know what I mean? So it is literally whatever from beyond that point. But when I bring this up to players, they don't seem to understand that when you are playing Pro League, it is taken more seriously than ranked. So you can have a different mindset when you play there, but that's just how it is. You know what I mean? So you don't see Pengu yelling at his teammates being toxic in Pro League, but you'll see it happen in ranked or on his live streams because it's two different settings, two different stories. You don't see Bolo yelling at his teammates in Pro League because it's two different stories. When you're playing ranked, when you're streaming, it is a different setting compared to playing, let's say, Pro League. Two different settings. You can't compare the two. You can't be like, oh, well, this guy's toxic in ranked, meaning he's toxic in Pro League because it's the same thing. It's the same.
There's a standard that is set when you're on a professional level or whether you are streaming. When you're streaming casual, when you're streaming ranked, when you're streaming unranked, when you're streaming a discovery arcade playlist, when you're just streaming in general, your precedence is set to a certain level compared to when you're on a professional stage competing. So your stream game is determined by your personality, nothing more, nothing less. You could be completely shit at the game and be an awesome streamer, or you could be completely amazing and be a bad streamer. Um, Vice versa. Or you could be in the middle ground. Um, when you're streaming Rainbow Six in a non competitive setting, you're essentially your end goal is for views. Your end goal is to convince your audience that you are a somewhat decent player or you're just bad enough that it's comedy. There's no in between. Not a lot of people will watch mediocre gameplay because it's just not to their liking. Um, a lot of people will watch, really top tier gameplay because they want new ways to improve their game, or they're looking for some inspiration to play the game, or they're just wanting to see what their favorite pro league or content influencer is up to. People watch really bad gameplay because they want to have a laugh. But when you're watching the top tier gameplay out of Challenger League, out of Pro League, out of any 10-man scrim, um, you're watching for their team callouts. You're watching for what they do, And if it's a broadcasted stream from an external source and not directly first person point of view, then you're looking for the calls that they make on the decisions that the players make. And everything in any competitive professional esports league setting, you have the job to convince the audience that the game that you're playing is worth watching, that your skill level is worth being in part of the highest division possible, that your team play is all there, and that you are able to first and foremost develop the brand for the game that you're playing in, because after all, that is your job to do as a player, is to play the game and to successfully promote it so more people are willing to play that game. Your end goal, of course, is money or a trophy or whatever it may be. Your end goal in Pro League is to get to SI and to lift that hammer. Your end goal in Challenger League, when you qualify for Challenger League, is to make it into Pro League or win Challenger League finals or win University League, shit like that. You're always trying to advance to the next level when you're on the competitive stage. As for ranked does not matter worth a fucking shit. Okay. So let me explain, go into depth about ranked here, and this is subverting from the topic here, just by the pubic hair. Ranked doesn't mean shit, guys, and here's the reason why I say ranked doesn't mean shit. Ranked is a seasonal event or a seasonal ongoing thing that players chase for a fucking emblem. Now, the biggest emblem that you can get is champion, right? And within champion, you have levels 1 through 1,000. On PC, your top-rated champions are more than likely closet cheaters. But another thing about ranked is that once you hit the top ranked, at the end of the season, you'll get that no matter where you land. So, it's at one point, yeah, you're fighting because you want something that looks cool, because you have expectations of yourself to get to that level. But at another point, you're just chasing after something that, again, looks cool. Ranked doesn't equate to player skill either. Ranked is basically how well you could 5-stack, and that's it. Right? So if you're solo queuing, you're going to have a harder time getting to a higher rank than you would if you're 5-stacking. Solo queue has problems on its own. There's a lot of problems, and unless you're a highly mechanically skilled player that pairs with people that are also mechanically skilled at the game, you're more than likely going to lose your games. It's incredibly hard to solo queue in ranks because there's a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of just other factors than there would be with a dedicated 5-stack. That's why you see players like King George and other top tier content creators always get to champion. Now, as the case for Macy J solo queues it and always hits diamond, but he hits a diamond plateau. But for him, diamond's good enough because, again, champion's rank doesn't really mean shit to the game. His content that he provides, his insights, is where he excels the most, And that's another thing. With ranked, you're not there to play, just try hard to really sweat it out, as Gate said. You're there to have fun. You're there to experiment with map elements that, you've seen in Pro League that you may want to try out for yourself. And the same goes for unranked. So all unranked is basically sweaty casual, and all ranked is sweaty casual.
Same game, not the same setting. Two different entirely things. I want to eliminate all the toxicity just because I don't want people taking ranked so seriously because rank doesn't prove your natural skill. It's how you use it, who you play with, and the way you bring it up. IQ is a huge thing in this game because there's many things you can do in this game to counter stuff and to outplay your opponents. People just don't have that mindset like it used to be. Right now, I'd personally say in the current state in Rainbow, it's just run and gun. That's really all it is.
In North America, especially North America, your KD is what matters. Everybody has this mindset that, oh my god, if you have a shit KD, if you're a point 0.7, point 0.8, point 0.9 player, then you're an absolute garbage Rainbow player. You should uninstall. Well, here's the thing about that. In Rainbow, you have so many different jobs and so many different things that you can do. So if you're not heavily maining an entry frag like Ash or Nook or Buck even, then you're fucking crazy to think that someone's gonna have an IQ that someone's gonna have a KD that's above a 1.0. Majority of players will break even. Their skill level is equal to their kill death, or not their skill level. Their kills are equal to their death. They're an equal player. Most support players will actually have a negative KD because their job is to legitimately support the team, to plant bombs, to stop defusing bombs, to essentially get the job done to win a round. Because that, in the end, is the point of Rainbow Six, to win as many rounds as you can so you can win the map or the match or the series. And a lot of people forget that Rainbow Six can be tactically played, but they would rather factor in the one thing that doesn't really matter unless you're playing a roamer or an entry frag player. And I suppose a lot of that actually comes from games like Counter-Strike or Call of Duty, where they're just completely run and gun. They're completely weapon skill based games or kill skill based games. And a lot of people don't figure that. A lot of people translate that into Rainbow, which works but also doesn't work at the same time. We saw Space Station Gaming, a very methodical team, win it all against some of the top tier run and gun teams. So to his point, there's a lot more that you can do in this game than just point and shoot. And it's sad that players don't realize that.
You run in, you kill people, that's it. There's no reward. It's just run in and you either die or you don't die. That's all it is. So I want to...
And to another point to that, the maps, some of these maps in the ranked pool and even the casual pool aren't built situationally for a bomb map. So Theme Park is not built for a bomb map at all. And the fact that it's going competitive, it's just going to get banned constantly. Maps that are more built for bomb are more tactically played. So maps that aren't, Outback, Chalet, K-Anal, even New Oregon, they're all basically glorified deathmatch maps that you're essentially just going to have a team break in from different angles and not worry about planting the bomb because of how shit's spaced out and how shit is. You're more than likely going to win on kills than you are going to win on time or win on plant, especially in ranked.
To eliminate toxicity, like I said, for like the third time, I want players that are serious about it, because you can't find people that are serious about a team, especially because it's on console. But there are ways you can make money on console and get a start. When you get a start, that's better than nothing. Because if you're starting with nothing and you have nothing on this game, you know nothing about it, you're not going to get anywhere from it.
That's essentially what happened with me. So I was streaming Rainbow Six. That's how actually found me. I was streaming Rainbow Six on console. He looked at my stats and he's like, holy shit, your rank doesn't equate to your skill. You're actually a pretty skilled player. And yeah, I was playing ranked with my friends because I enjoy playing with my friends. But he saw a lot of promise in me and was like, "Hey, do you want to join Disconnect on our PC team?" And I was like, "Sure, what goes into this?" Yada yada, go for all this other shit. I'm like, "Dude, this is exactly the direction that I would love to go with Rainbow." Because Rainbow from pretty much Parabellum forward has been my main game, has been my sole priority target. I fucking love Rainbow. And to be able to say I've got competitive experience in a game that I love is major. And I appreciate Gate for, giving me the opportunity, whether it be starting up on PS4 and then saying, hey, I'm switching over to PC and then making me the IGL, the PC team. Now, whether that be because I was the only player on PC or because he trusted me to IGL is two different stories. But where I'm at now was a far cry from where I was in Parabellum.
You're just going to be sitting there, you're not going to know what to do, you're not going to know how to play, and it's just going to turn bad in the end. So it's hard to say what I want, and it's hard to put where I want, but I want to get a start to where everybody's comfortable, everyone likes each other, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's annoying that that's the case. It sucks majorly, but hopefully we can make the best of what we have, and we can see, the better, because there's better days than what we have. You know what I mean? It just sucks. So that's really all I want to say. There's not much else to even include, because it's just we lost our players, we've fallen, now we need to make a way to come back. That's really all we need. If we can't come back, we're not going to get anywhere. That's going to suck. And let's just do what we can. I would love mature players who are, mature enough to actually hold themselves together and, know the difference between good and bad, who are willing to listen and not argue all the time. Like, if you don't like somebody, I can't fix that. There's not much you can do about it. It's really all. Winning Go 4s, winning Vanilla Cups, winning Bomb Cups, they all mean nothing if you're an asshole. Like, you can be like, oh, well, this guy's good, but, like, who likes him? Because all he does is yell at everybody because they did one thing wrong out of the 8 rounds they've played. So, it's whatever. Hopefully, people can understand and see where I'm coming from instead of what they see. But all we can do is just make the most of what we have. So if you guys know people, please let me know. Other than this, enjoy the rest of this gameplay.
So yeah, agreed. If you have one outlier in your team that doesn't get along with anybody, then you've got to give them the boot. That's just that. Um, Team play is based on your team composition and how well you guys all get along with each other. If you guys don't get along with each other, if you guys are always questioning each other's decisions, or if you're arguing with each other constantly, or this, that, and the other thing, then you're not going to go anywhere. And that's kind of what happened with the PC team, is that we all had different ideals. We all had different methods of doing things. Players would be upset with each other over not doing something right. We didn't really talk about it afterwards. We didn't really discuss too much of that, and it just leads to a lot of losses in the competitive scene. All our games in the competitive scene that we've played, whether it be the 2 vanilla bombs or the 5 Go 4s that we've had on PC, we've lost them all. We've all gotten first rounded. And it's not because our strats didn't work or we weren't prepared. It's just that we weren't communicating effectively. And when you stop communicating effectively, you lose. It's just point blank simple. You can't have that. You can't downplay that either. It's just pretty much you stop communicating, you lose. Rainbow's a game of communication. Without that communication, you're pretty much just solo queuing with your competitive team, and at that point, you're fucked. And end of story. And to conclude, basically this 50-minute video on his video, my take. Yeah, he makes a good point. We need to start finding a more mature player base, as said earlier. I'm currently recruiting 18 plus players who have a kill death ratio equal to each other, so 1.0, and who are willing to be dedicated to playing on a competitive team. Otherwise, if I can't find players, within a week or so, then I'm going to lose my last player, which in that case, I'll more than likely be looking to either stop playing competitive or look for another team. Which I hope that doesn't come down to that. But appreciate you guys for watching my insights on Gates' video. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to him at Daddy Gate Gaming. Let's get him up to 1,000. And really, thank you so much for your viewership, as always. And we'll see you guys maybe in tonight's stream. Adios.